right, are we ready to roll? Good evening, everyone. It's 7:02 on Monday, July 29th. Your Board of Education from the Glendora Unified School District is returning from closed session. So the first item of business will be a roll call, please.
Good evening. Do I have Board Member Reuter?
Present.
Board Clerk Lopez?
Here.
Vice President Garcia?
Here.
President Clifford?
Present.
And please note that Board Member Merkley is absent.
Thank you. The next item is the Pledge of Allegiance. Please stand, put your right hand over your heart, and repeat after me. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Our next item is report of action taken in closed session. And we have 4 items to report out. First is the Board of Education is pleased to announce with a motion by Trustee Reuter, second by Trustee Garcia with a vote of 4 yeses, has appointed Nicole Cook to be the next principal of Stanton Elementary School. Congratulations, Nicole. The next item is that the same board is pleased to announce with a motion by Clifford, seconded by Lopez, 4 yes votes, has appointed Kristen Martinez to the position of Assistant Principal of Goddard Middle School. So congratulations, Kristen. The third readout is the Board of Education wants to announce with a motion by Trustee Reuter, second by Trustee Garcia, 4 yes votes, has appointed Marlene Gomez to be the next Director of Child Development. And congratulations to Marlene. And the closing report out would be that the Glendora Unified Board of Trustees in closed session with a motion by Trustee Reuter, seconded by Trustee Lopez, and a vote of 4 yeses, and has approved the settlement agreement for OAH case number 202-405-0725. So that confirms the rumor that we don't do any work in closed session. There you go. Thank you. The next item is 3.5, adoption of the agenda. May I have a motion for that, please?
So moved.
There's a motion. Is there a second? All those in favor of moving forward with the current agenda?
Aye.
Any opposition? We will move forward with said agenda. 3.6 is public comment. If you have something that you would like to say to the board, now is your 3-minute chance. I have no cards in front of me. Is there anybody here? So I will open up public comment, and I will politely close public comment, and thank you everyone, and move on to item 4.1, which is comment from the members of the Board of Education, starting to my left with Trustee Reuter. Happy birthday.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. I really don't have much of a public comment this evening, but I want to recognize all of our employees who are working furiously behind the scenes to get ready for all of our students that are coming pretty quickly in just about a little over 2 weeks. So I hope everybody's still finding time to manage some balance in their lives, but I thank all of our teachers, all of our staff. Our maintenance staff is quite busy right now as far as facilities and improvements are concerned. So thank you to everyone, and hopefully everyone will enjoy their last couple of weeks before we really get into next year's school year. Thank you.
Thank you. Trustee Lopez?
No, nothing really to say besides the same. I mean, everybody's working hard to get going, so it's time. It's that time of year, so let's have a great year and have fun.
Trustee Garcia?
First and foremost, happy birthday, Elizabeth. Also, happy birthday to Jeanette, coming just passed, and Dr. Prince, happy birthday. Wish you all many beautiful days and travel, and more importantly, health. I wanted to say, I hope everyone is enjoying their summer. 17 days until school starts. I know a little sooner for our teachers and staff, but for our students, but who's counting, right? I am. I wanted to say good luck to our staff. I think 14 to 17 will be attending the AVID conference this weekend, or this week in San Diego. Thank you for being committed to being lifetime learners and learning in order to better service our students. I appreciate that, and I'm so excited to see what you learn and bring back to our students. I want to welcome our students back from MOCA. They arrived today, which is exciting. I received live updates from MOCA, and I was so excited, and I was so sad that I wasn't there, so sad that my son didn't want to go. And but it looks like MOCA did a phenomenal job at hosting our students. I'm almost embarrassed. Next time we need to do more, because wow, the amount of culture and just all the beautiful things. We do, but man, they went they went above and beyond, and our kids had a great time. I heard reports of some kids didn't want to come back. So, I mean, just seeing all the pictures and all the culture that they shared and all the beautiful experiences that they had, I'm very grateful to the city of MOCA and the schools that were out there in that sisterhood. And again, I also had on my notes to thank our district staff and our city as well for setting up the fencing around Goddard and Sandburg. I'm very grateful to see that one of our tenets is to keep our students safe. The safety of our students is at the top of our priorities, so I'm happy to see those things getting done and having the community see that that is important to us. And again, what gets funded gets done, and I'm happy to see that being done. So thank you for all the powers that be that got that done this summer, and that's all I've got.
Thank you very much. Nothing from me other than I wanted to say happy birthday to my beautiful wife, Linda. We will move on to the next item, which is the superintendent report.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the board, distinguished guests. I've heard some of the same updates from me that I heard from the board, but thanks, special thanks to the maintenance and operations teams and the custodial teams. It's been a hot summer. It's heated up lately. All the summer projects that are taking place across the district, a number of improvements at Glendora High School you'll see when you return, asphalt improvements across the district, and basketball court and backboard and rim replacements from across the district as well. So you'll see that as well. STEAM labs at all of our elementary sites have been under construction throughout the summer and are nearing completion, anticipated to be completed by their back-to-school nights here coming soon, so we look forward to that. That's a very exciting time. And our first ever dual language immersion class at Sutherland Elementary is all set to begin and ready to go here in just a couple weeks. Our Glendora Unified Leadership Team is having its annual kickoff meetings and retreat this week. And so we look forward to meeting with them on Thursday and Friday. The first day of school, as Mrs. Garcia and others have said, is on August 15th, just around the corner. Welcome to all of our new staff. We thank you for choosing Glendora Unified when there are many, many choices out there to consider, and that's all of our classified and all of our certificate and all of our administrative staff, including the new additions tonight. We're very excited to bring aboard Mrs. Nicole Cook at Stanton as their new principal, our Goddard Assistant Principal, Mrs. Kristen Martinez, and our Director of Child Development Programs, Marlene Gomez. MOCA Japan wrapped up, came back today. We really want to thank especially our friends across the ocean for their generous hospitality and care of our students and staff during that trip. There's a lot going on in 7 days, and they take extremely good care and are very gracious host indeed. We look forward to reconnecting and connecting again with new groups in 2025 when both schools will return to Goddard and Sandburg respectively. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any questions to the superintendent of his report? All right, we'll move to item 5.1, which is a staff presentation, district-owned real property, options and opportunities. Please come on up and introduce yourself and go ahead and present to us.
Great, thank you. Hi, I'm Serene Abrahamian, counsel to the district, and I'm presenting tonight on district-owned real property options and opportunities, but relating specifically to an item that's on the agenda regarding approval of an exclusive negotiating agreement with a developer, Lewis Acquisition Company. So, starting off with the first slide here. For a school district to sell its property and long-term lease for up to 99 years, it would typically have to go through what's called a surplus disposition process. And you see that process outlined on the slide. And what's required for that typically is that the board would appoint what's called a 7-11 committee. It's a board-appointed Brown Act committee comprised of between 7 and 11 members of the community, and the requirements for who sits on the committee are outlined in the Education Code. And the committee would meet and reach consensus and bring a recommendation to the board regarding whether a property should be deemed surplus to the district's needs. If the board chooses to follow the recommendations, the board would have to take the step of deeming the property surplus by approving a resolution that surpluses the site. And after that, you see that there are some steps that kick in that third or last bullet, which is the district would have to offer the property to other public agencies and other agencies and groups identified in the Education and Government Code. And if there's no negotiation or agreement as to selling to one of those entities, then there would be a formal bidding procedure that the district would engage in. And again, that's for surplus property disposition for sale or long-term leasing. There are alternatives under the Education Code to that process, and also actually we have one identified under the Government Code as well. You see them listed there. Again, tonight's focus is on the exchange procedure, which is Education Code 17536 et seq. So all the ed code provisions are provided there for everybody's review. The joint use, joint occupancy, and fee-producing infrastructure facilities are Education Code or Government Code statutes that allow the district to procure long-term or short-term leases. So for the joint use statutes, it's leases up to 5 years. For the joint occupancy statutes, it's another mechanism for entering into a long-term lease of up to 99 years if the district so chooses. Under the fee-producing infrastructure facilities statutes, the district can enter into up to a 35-year term lease. But again, each of those statutory structures have their own requirements and steps that the district would have to comply with. Tonight, what we're focused on, again, is an exchange procedure, which we'll focus on in the next slide. Also, school districts now, under Education Code 17391B, have flexibility around employee housing projects and how they procure those without having to comply with the surplus statutes. So again, we're focused tonight on the exchange of property. Districts are allowed under the Education Code statute cited there to exchange school district-owned property for other property after negotiating with a party to develop what that property is, and of course, doing due diligence activities that you would typically do when you're purchasing property. The difference is in this scenario, the district is exchanging its property for the property that's brought to the transaction as a potential option. Any exchange shall be upon the terms the parties may agree and may be entered into without complying with the other disposition requirements. So what that speaks to is, again, this is an alternative to the surplus statutes. The district does not have to comply with the surplus statutes in order to consider or enter into an exchange agreement. And the other important requirement is that the board shall adopt at the time that the exchange agreement is approved, which is not tonight, at the time the exchange agreement is approved, by a 2/3 vote, a resolution declaring its intention to exchange the property. And of course, just like if the district is purchasing property and negotiating a purchase and sale agreement, the recommendation would be, and the district would participate and work to do extensive due diligence activities to ensure that what it's exchanging into is the appropriate and good site for the district's future uses. So again, tonight the board is considering the approval of an exclusive negotiating agreement. And what that allows is for the district to explore the option of exchange with the Lewis Group. And during that process, the district would, and Lewis would review potential properties that are available for exchange, both on the district side and what Lewis brings to the table and recommends as options that it's providing for the district to exchange into. And you see that in the second bullet, identify the properties the district would consider exchanging and negotiate an agreement meaning negotiate an exchange agreement, including price and terms. So during this process of exclusive negotiating agreement, and during that term, the parties would be working to do extensive due diligence to determine what are the appropriate sites for a potential exchange, and then working through all the details of that. If, of course, the parties reach an agreement on properties that can be exchanged, then, because this would be a very open and transparent process and there are steps to it, the district would consider, again, during a open session board meeting, approving what's called an exchange agreement in order for the properties to be exchanged. And that would, of course, require the 2/3 vote that we discussed earlier. And then you see that as the last bullet, that the board considers approval of an exchange agreement, and then that would, of course, kick in multiple steps, including an escrow period and other things that would be required under a typical purchase agreement, but this would be in an exchange format. So that is the presentation. I'll turn it back over if there are questions.
Thank you very much. Are there any questions from the board?
I have a question, but it's more of an internal question. Why are we looking at this?
It's a fair question. I think we need to look as we suffer declining enrollment over many, many years, and we're talking 2,000 students over the last 10 years, which is an extreme amount, 1,000 in the last 5. We need to look at every possibility and every option for our district going forward. And if we have some possible areas that may be considered to assist us in these areas of surplus or otherwise, we should consider them.
Any other questions from the board? All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
We'll move on to block 6, which is the discussion action items. The first discussion action item is 6.1 to approve the exclusive negotiation agreement with Lewis Acquisition Company LLC for the negotiation of a real property exchange agreement or the potential thereof. Is there any staff presentation on this?
The only staff presentation is to reiterate what Serene has shared and detail that there are one agreement here for the exclusive negotiating agreement and the attached right to entry, which includes an exhibit as well.
Thank you. Is there any discussion from the board on this item?
I guess I would just say that this is an if. That we're looking at everything. I think that during the presentation, you might have said when or whatever the case might be, that we're exploring every option. So if an exchange is appropriate, if Lewis can come to us with something, if they can, that's what we will consider at that time. That this isn't, we're not entering into an actual agreement to do something right now with this motion. This is the first step in an exploration process.
That is exactly correct. Serene, if you have anything else to add.
No, that's what I was going to say, yes. It gives you the space within the parameters of the exclusive negotiating agreement to do the legwork that we talked about, which is some of the due diligence activities to determine if this is something you're interested in potentially considering as a board.
I'm not saying that qualifier because I'm not fully supportive of this. I am fully supportive of this exploration process. I just want to make sure that the community that may be watching or subsequently following up understands that this is the first step and a really good option for us if they can bring something to us that works out.
Thank you. I think it's a good point. Any other discussion from the board? If not, may I have a motion for approval?
So moved.
There's a motion. Is there a second? Second. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? Okay, that passes unanimously. We'll move on to 6.2. Approved to file a declaration of need for the fully qualified educators for the 2024-2025 school year as presented. Do we have any staff presentation on 6.2?
Thank you. The Declaration of Need is actually a formal document that we submit annually to the state indicating our anticipated staffing needs for teachers who might not yet be fully credentialed. By approving this, it's basically an insurance policy that allows us to apply for emergency permits should we need them. Thank you.
Thank you for that presentation. Is there any discussion on that from the board? Barring any discussion, may I have a motion for approval? There's a motion, is there a second? Second. Motion and a second, all those in favor? Aye. Any opposition? Okay, 6-2 passes. We'll move on to 6-3, which is approval of the application for a provisional internship permit for Cassidy Valentine as presented. Staff?
The PIP is a temporary teaching credential issued to individuals who are still completing their teacher prep programs. In this case, this teacher will be fully qualified credentialed teacher as of December.
Okay, thank you. Based on that presentation, are there any questions or discussion from the board? Nope. May I have a motion? So moved. A motion, is there a second? I'll second. Motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposition? Okay, that passes also. Thank you very much. That moves us on to item 7, which is the consent calendar. Tonight, the consent calendar is 7.1, or excuse me, items 8.1 through 11.4. Are there any items that should be pulled for discussion?
I would like to pull item 9.11, please. Let me make sure that's
9.11?
correct.
And I'm just gonna
Yes.
be at 9.4.
Okay.
And it just
So
not
I'll
approved.
make a motion to blanket approve everything except 9.4 and 9.11.
Okay, that's perfect. There's a motion and a second. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposition? Excellent. Okay, the first one that came up was 9/11, so let's do that one, 9.11. Yeah, you had a discussion on,
Wanted to read it. Okay.
approve and ratify the amended 2024-2025 AVID contract as presented. Trustee Reuter.
I would just love to hear from Dr. Prince about this, please.
So this is exciting. This is actually just an amendment. We had already approved AVID for 6 of our school sites, and this adds Whitcomb as our 7th AVID site. We've talked about many times how AVID supports students in every classroom, as well as looking at those potential for college-going culture. And so it is going to be a great addition to Whitcomb. Some of their staff actually just went to a training, and we heard great things about it. So very excited to add Whitcomb as our 7th GUSD AVID school.
I pulled this because I am very excited about this opportunity for our students at Whitcomb. Correlating to Mrs. Garcia's comments about the Avid Summer Institute that's coming up, do we have any Whitcomb teachers that are able to attend the Institute?
They actually just finished the
Okay, so
Institute.
that's where they were.
went together to the Anaheim Institute.
Okay.
And then our other teams, because they added on after, and it didn't work with their schedule to go to San Diego, so they went to Anaheim, and there were a team of 5 that went
Great,
to Anaheim.
wow, that's the majority of the teachers.
But 3 of them were from Whitcomb,
Okay.
and then we had 2 from Sandburg who worked better in their schedules.
But 3
go
from
in.
Whitcomb is still probably a majority of their teachers.
It's about half of their teaching staff,
Okay,
so.
that
yep.
is a wonderful, wonderful addition. Thank you very much. I make a motion to approve.
I'll second that motion.
Okay.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? All right, the last one is 9.4, and that's a educational services consent item to approve or ratify a consultant agreement for Dr. Barbiera as presented. I pulled the item. I am not in agreement with the district administration that determined and recommended that Dr. Barbieri has the ability to come speak, and I just have a different opinion on this one. I was presented with some of her published work. I wasn't a real fan of it. I just didn't like it, and so as a result of that, I haven't had enough time to vet out the agenda item where I could vote yes for it. So for that reason, I'll be voting no on 9.4. That's the only, unless somebody wants to comment, that's all I have to say about that.
I think it might be beneficial maybe to hear from Dr. Najarro or Dr. Prince as far as what Dr. Barbiera will be doing and how she was chosen as a consultant for this process.
So as we were looking at our LCAP, we looked at our goals, especially goal 1 and 2, student achievement and student engagement, increasing engagement, sense of belonging. And so we were looking for presenters that can really look at the connections, because we know connections make kids come to school, and when they're at school, we can help them learn. So we were looking for someone who can dig in individually to our Glendora data. So we're going to dig into that GUSD data, look at who are our students and how do we support, build those classroom connections and that positive culture with all of our students. And that's part of a 4 PD session rotation that they'll do about developing our multi-tiered systems of support. And we reached out to a few neighboring districts who had used her before and came highly recommended.
So she analyzes our data specific and then makes recommendations on how best to connect with our demographic makeup.
So she analyzes our data, presents our data to our staff, and then talks about what that data tells us on how we can connect and build positive culture.
So she's not making specific suggestions, she's making overall data-driven. I know what I think, I just want to make sure I'm articulating it correctly.
Data-driven professional development based on our Glendora data.
Okay. Any other questions?
Oh, I guess, go ahead. Well, the question that I have was, did we meet face-to-face with her? So we had a meeting with her, and we vetted her through other districts and things like that, and you never know with a presenter what you're gonna get anyway. I mean, I know they dig into your data and they do their due diligence and what they're supposed to do, and you just don't know sometimes what you're gonna get when that presentation's done. So, yeah, so it's something we should think about.
Okay.
I just wanted to know if Dr. Nahara wanted to add anything to that, or you felt Dr. Prince covered that. I also did do a little digging and saw that in April of this year, she was named the Director of Educational Services for Claremont Unified School District. So she seems to be very well qualified to present this type of data and fulfill meet one of our goals requirements as far as the connection and the cultural awareness that is necessary for today's demographics in Glendora Unified School District. So I appreciate it. I don't know if you want to call it.
No, that's fine. I just have a difference of opinion on the cultural interpretation part, that's all. All right, any further discussion? All those in favor? Oh, I thought we had a motion already. Is there a motion to approve item 9.4? I motion to approve. There's a motion for approval. Is there a second? Okay, all those in favor, aye? Aye. Any opposition? No. Okay, that's 2-2. Which I think means nothing happens. If you want to have further discussion or any, I just want some more time to vet it out, but if you want to have further discussion or anything else on a substitute motion, that's fine, but otherwise, other than that, the motion goes 2-2.
Can I ask a question? Can I ask for clarification?
Yes.
Or, Dr. Prince, can you tell us how this motion not following through, how this will affect our professional development day and what you've worked so hard to create for our staff and teachers?
We've currently created the 4-session model. So our next board meeting is the evening of August 12th after the Professional Development Day. So Dr. Naharo and I will need to look for a different session presenter and figure out, I've actually not, honestly, it's never happened, so I'm not sure what the next steps are. If we can do like a permission for a substitute presenter, but it's before a board meeting. So truly, I'll have to do some research to find that answer out for you, and we'll see what we can come up with before our PD day.
So what you're saying is that this puts you in a pickle.
Sorry, I missed that.
So what you're saying is that this puts you in a pickle.
A pickle that I will figure out.
I would just like to respond to that if I could. I'm sorry if it puts you in a pickle, but this is the first time it's presented to me as a policy. I mean, if it didn't have to come to me, so be it, but it came to me, and I may have a difference of opinion than you do about the cultural awareness of this and the presentation of it. I don't think it's just gonna be, here's the Glendora data, okay, here's what you need to do in Glendora. I think it'll be a balance of, here's the Glendora data, here's my experience in this arena, here's what I've done, and here's my interpretation. I mean, it's subject to data-driven and interpretation, and I'm just not prepared to get something, it's already printed on a flyer, the flyer's already been put out. I'm a no vote on it. That's okay to be. I didn't mean to put you in a pickle, but I didn't put us in the pickle. I'm not just hey, I want to do this, so this is what you're gonna do. Just the feedback that I got, and again, I don't know her from any other presenter, but I got a lot of feedback, and I did get a lot of feedback from people that work for us that they were concerned about this, since we're talking about it. And then when they presented me with some data, and they said, hey, we have a good internal candidate to do this too, and they presented a name. I sent it all to the superintendent the minute I got it and worked through it through the week. So I'm just not there yet. It doesn't mean it's not the right decision. I want to be clear with that. It just means that when you presented this to me for tonight to be done before the next meeting, I didn't put that pickle that wasn't created by me. I'm just voting for what I think to be the right policy decision for me. And I think as a discussion, as you know, the vote may change, we can have another vote, but I just haven't had enough time to vet out the potential cultural discussions and what I was presented with. I'm not in alignment with for the culture of Glendora. That's me. That's what I was presented with. So I haven't had enough time between this agenda item and vetting the rest of that stuff out to look at it.
So I think we can all agree that making sure that all of our students feel connected at all of our sites is something that's really important, right? As far as looking at the data and then helping us, I sort of look at that as maybe two different things where this woman might have the ability to do both things. She has that skill set, whatever the case might be. Looking at the data is something that we could do internally, right? We have the ability to, we have very, very good data looker-atters. We've got people that really do very good job doing, taking a great look at our data. It's the turnaround point. It's like somebody sort of objectively looking from the outside and giving information back that I wonder if that's where we are looking for some outside resource that way. Is it a matter of our ability to do this job, or is it a matter of our time to be able to do this job with everything else? Like, is staff time also a factor when it comes to doing this job, or is it more that you're looking for a subject matter expert?
I think it's actually a combination of both. So having someone who has done this before and really looking, I mean, in GUSD, we have tons of staff who are wonderful at connecting with students. But it's more digging specifically into data-driven connections and making sure that as we're looking at all students, are we looking truly at all students? Are we looking at all of our data? Are we looking at what we have now in front of us and driving those decisions? So it's really kind of a combination.
And I appreciate that. I'm just looking at, all I have is the agenda item. And there's no resume or anything. I have a contract. The contract starts August 1st, which I think is tomorrow or the next day. And I just can't between tonight and then.
So in a governance way, for us right now today, is there any mechanism that we can use? I mean, we don't have another board meeting till this is over. So is there anything that can come? Is there any other data? Is there any other mechanism where you might be able to make a more informed decision with more data between now and then? Is there any mechanism, or is it just dead?
The mechanism that I would deem to be appropriate would be if we had another meeting between then and now to implement a contract that's dated August 1st. And I don't think we would have enough time to
No.
agendize it. It's the pickle is of circumstance. I mean, this is what we're supposed to do. I vetted
I
out
got
the
it. I
agenda,
totally
not
got it.
happy with
While her contract's-
Don't see a background, don't see anything. All I have is data that was sent to me, none of which was sent to me by the district, other than a recommendation. And that's okay. I'm just saying that in my little sphere of influence, I don't have enough data, and what I was presented with, I'm not a fan of. It doesn't mean it's not wonderful, and I wish I would have had more data, but for what I have, again, I looked, and I've been searching for other stuff, and all I have is the contract, the fact that we're gonna pay her $7,200 and vote on it tonight. And so it's just, I'm just a no vote on it, that's all. It doesn't mean I wouldn't be a yes vote after I got more data in the future, if you wanna have another meeting, or again, we can have a reconsideration, that's not against the law either. So we can do that, we can do that all night and have a discussion. I'm not trying to be a pain in the ass or do anything, it's just how I feel about this. We had a whole bunch of people that I went through and read and had discussions on that were great. This one I'm struggling with.
Mr. President, members of the board, if I may, one option would be to call a special session board meeting from this date until prior to August 12th, and reconsider it at that time with any additional information that's been provided.
That's fair, I mean, that's fair, I'm just gonna tell you that, if you're gonna bring me the same recommendation, I may struggle with it still, but that's either here. I will have more information. That is correct. I would have more information to make a decision than I do tonight. That is correct.
We'll leave up to staff whether they want to do that, right? They get to decide whether they want to bring that back to us
Yeah.
that way. But that would be.
That's totally fair. I mean, I think that's totally appropriate. And then before we end this item, again, we can have a motion for reconsideration. That's not inappropriate to see if the votes change at all as a result of the discussion.
Well, I think the part that I struggle with is the cultural piece and what will be presented in the classroom to the teachers. Digging into the data, I understand digging into the data, trying to make those connections, I get that. And then what's the cultural piece look like? Like what are we looking at? Are we looking at, because we're mostly Hispanic now, that we're looking at from a Hispanic perspective, from what perspective are we looking at? How does that get presented in the classroom, I guess? I don't know what that looks like. And it could be an uncomfortable thing, because this is not an option, right, for a teacher. They're going through A, B, C, D, E. And so they're going to it's kind of a captive audience situation because there's no other way to put it. So that's the part where I'm in my mind, I'm thinking, is that, well, what does that look like? I guess that's my problem, is what does that look like? What perspective are they going to come from? What are they going to be presenting? What does the data look like, that you look at this data, now I'm going to build connections, but I'm also going to do it from a cultural perspective. So I guess I'm having trouble wrapping my mind around that piece, if that makes sense.
So is there any other information that you want to present to us tonight that would help Trustee Lopez understand that more? Like, do you want to take a 5-minute recess or a 3-minute recess and think about it? Do you want to do any more presentation to see if that solves his query on that one issue? That's totally up to you.
Dr. Prince, I think it's important to, maybe that's for Dr. Nahara as well, to kind of explain. I think some of our trustees here are maybe needing more explanation as far as how the connections will be made. I don't know if you looked into that, or if you've had an opportunity to preview any other presentation that Dr. Barbiera has done in the past, and how she would be able to present that to our community in a way that is, I guess, culturally sensitive and relative to our community. I don't know if you have this information or not, but it would be helpful.
So I know Dr. Nahara has worked very closely with her. We do have an outline. We haven't seen the actual presentation. I feel like if it's something that we want to in order to get enough information to make it comfortable, I feel like it would be better to do a special session so that we could gather all of the information you guys request ahead of time, and then be able to come back and present that with all the information needed.
My concern is that I think President Clifford has made it very clear that where he stands, and he just doesn't align with this, her research in the past and what you were submitted. I don't want to misspeak, is that correct? And so here we're going to schedule a special session where it might just delay you finding somebody else, and now making such an important day for our teachers and staff, this PD, be half what it's supposed to be, not as efficient as it's supposed to be. So that's my only concern with another special session. I'm hoping that we can come to an agreement tonight.
So we do have an outline of the presentation that we could, if we did a couple minutes recess, we could print really quick, and we could kind of overview that and present it to the board if that would be helpful.
As long, the items agendized, I think getting more information is okay. So I would say if we take a couple minute recess and you want to bring it back, that may give more information than what we currently have. So it's it's 7:43 right now. Can we reconvene? How many minutes do you need to do that? I don't want to rush you.
I would say about 7 minutes. That'll give us time to load up the laptop and print.
Reconvene at 7:50?
That sounds good.
Okay, thank you. We're in recess until 7:50. We are back in session from our break. Before we talk about revoting or doing anything different on this, or substitute motion on item 9.4, is there any other staff information that you gained?
Well, yes, I did. So I wanted to talk, it's a delicate situation, right? When we start dealing with culture and we start looking at our data and how that's going to affect teachers and how we're going to move forward as a district and things like that. And you don't know what you're going to get. So having a discussion with Dr. Naharro, who has met face to face, and I know has been with this person for a couple of years and has met with this person over the last couple of years with ELs and things. Now, I'm not saying I don't trust anybody else, but she was the one that put it together, right? So I just wanted to make sure, that I was comfortable and that it would be comfortable for our staff, that we would have a presentation that I guess wasn't leaning one way or the other, that it was just based on our data, our kids. And, when you start looking at MTSS, and I know this because of what we do at the school I'm at now and what we've done before, we do look to support all students, right? Whether it's in the classroom or whether it's outside of the classroom, no matter what they're doing. So I'm going to trust that our team has done the right thing. And I think as a board member, sometimes we have to do that. I know sometimes when you look at presenters, maybe there are some things that they've done, or that whether it's a doctoral dissertation or whatever it is, that may be something that maybe we're not all in favor of. But I'm going to trust that our staff has done the right thing, has put it together the right way, and it's going to be presented in the right way on that day, what day is it, the 12th? What day school starts? I don't even know what day school starts here. So that's the comment. That's my comments. I'm comfortable after having a few minutes of conversation. I made a couple phone calls, I needed to gain more information in this situation. So I wanted to make sure that moving forward, I think we're on the right path.
All right, this is the time to get that information for evidence and testimony, so thank you for that. So item 9.4 was a 2-2 vote, which meant that nothing could happen to it. Can I have a motion for reconsideration of item 9.4? So moved. There's a motion to reconsider 9.4. Is there a second? I'll second. A motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposition? Just me? It passes. Thank you. All right. Thank you for working through that, staff. And now we will move to adjournment. Item 12.1 is adjournment. It's 7:57.
Don't we need to revote?
No, we don't have to do a sec. We can just adjourn. It's 7:57, and this meeting is now adjourned.